welcome back to my channel called Tam's Take. My name is Tameshka and thank you so much for all the love on my previous video. I am truly grateful. This video is going to be talking about self-love, our inner voice, positive affirmations. This is from my perspective. These are just the lessons that I've learned from my experiences. I don't have any qualification in psychology or mental health or anything like that. It's just my lessons, and I don't put into practice everything that I want to. I think it's a continuing journey where we're growing and learning all the time. Nobody's perfect. This video is going to be talking about how we can be kinder to ourselves and show ourselves more compassion and love and care. One of the main things that I think is really important is how we speak to ourselves. We're constantly talking to ourselves in our minds and telling ourselves good or bad things, and that's really important. I believe the reason we're kind to ourselves or unkind to ourselves is because of experiences that we've had in the past, especially in our childhoods, that have taught us a certain thing that we've believed throughout our lives and into our adulthood. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can change those limiting beliefs and try and practice more healthy ways to speak to ourselves. I believe there is a common belief amongst many of us that says we aren't enough, or we're not good enough, we're not good enough for a certain thing. We just don't believe in ourselves. We're not confident enough. We don't have that self-esteem, that self-worth. And that's really important. So I feel like that's developed from a young age. If you're getting praised and validated as a child, then you probably would have a good sense of yourself and confidence that you are capable and you're worth it, and that you are good enough. I'm sure there's other factors that play a part in that self-esteem and that self-worth. Sometimes I question myself and think, am I really good enough? Can I actually do this? Do I even know what I'm talking about? And so these are all the kinds of questions and thoughts that I have when I'm talking to myself. So I think it's important to be aware of those thoughts that come up and try and not silence them, but acknowledge what it is that you're thinking of. Maybe replace these thoughts with something more positive, something more beneficial. I read something that said, when you're thinking of a thought, ask yourself 3 things. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? So I think we have to constantly be on this awareness of noticing the thoughts that come up and asking ourselves these 3 questions. Most of all, is it beneficial? Is it going to help us move forward? Is it going to help us in the future? Or is it just adding more negativity? I think most of us are quite critical of ourselves, and we're constantly saying, you did that wrong, you didn't do that well enough, or things of that nature. And I think if you're constantly talking to yourself in that way, then it's really difficult for you to succeed and progress. So I think that's something that we all need to practice on what we're telling ourselves. Another thing I wanted to talk about was self-love. I always used to hear you have to love yourself first before you can love somebody else, and I never understood what that meant until recently. Being your own cheerleader, not relying on anybody else, and understanding that everything comes from within yourself. If you're able to love yourself in the way that you want others to love you, then you're showing other people how to love you, and also you're able to then love others. So realizing that and truly believing that and telling yourself that really improves your confidence and your sense of self-worth and your self-esteem. I have these angel oracle cards, and one of them said something about humans are the only species that think in terms of lack and limitations, but the universe is abundant and there's more than enough for everybody. Sometimes we might feel like we don't deserve it, and that's another thing to do with our confidence. So I think telling yourself constantly that you are capable, you are competent, you are enough, you're able is really helpful. And even if it's something that you tell yourself once a day, say, it will really make a difference in how you're feeling. Positive affirmations are another important exercise that we can implement. There are lots of meditations as well on YouTube, but it's also something that you can just tell yourself if it's something that you're struggling with. So some positive affirmations that you could tell yourself are, you are loved, you are cared for, you are protected. And these affirmations, these thoughts are some of the recurring messages that I get during my Reiki sessions, that we are protected by spirit and we are cared for, and we all have guardian angels. So we should never feel alone, and to know that we're part of a bigger whole and we're all connected. So some positive affirmations are, you are loved, you are cared for, you are protected. Or you can say, I am loved, I am cared for, I am protected, I am enough, I am worthy, I am confident, I am capable, I am competent, I am safe, I am happy, I feel joy, I am content, I am grateful, I am kind, I am generous, I'm beautiful. And it's not in a egotistical way. I think we're constantly putting ourselves down. We shouldn't be having any negative thoughts about ourselves, because that just puts us down even more. We need to be building ourselves up and realizing who we truly are. We are all spiritual beings. We are capable of so much more than we know. We all have a reason for being here and a sole purpose. And I think the ultimate purpose for everybody is to raise the consciousness of the planet and be just more loving, kinder human beings. And even simple things like smiling at somebody that you pass, even a stranger, or helping somebody with something in the grocery store, for example, or just being kind, just generally. When you do those kinds of things, you feel good in yourself as well. And that's like raising your vibration and your consciousness. Compare that with something, if you're gossiping about somebody, or saying something mean about someone, or wishing somebody harm, that feeling is definitely the opposite of how you would feel if you were kind and loving towards other people. So, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about, jealousy. I think everybody to some extent experiences this. Even myself, when I graduated from university, I just used to compare myself to my colleagues that graduated with the same degree as me, and I used to say, they've got such wonderful jobs and they must be getting paid really well, and what am I doing? I used to compare myself and say, look at what I'm doing. It's not as good as what they're doing, and just putting myself down in that way. And I think it's really natural for us to do in this day and age with social media, and constantly being able to see what other people are up to and what they're doing and what they have, and even material things. But I came to a realization that everybody is on their own path and their own journey, and you don't know what they're going through, and we shouldn't judge other people anyway. That's not for us. I think understanding that I'm on my own path and I'm on my own journey, and somebody else is on their own path and their own journey, so I can't compare myself to them or what they have or what I don't have. So I think it's more about just looking within and understanding that everything starts from within yourself. It's nothing to do with other people. It's not about looking externally. It's about just being introspective and having that awareness, constant awareness to our thoughts and feelings, and trying to correct them. If it's a negative thought that we're having, especially about ourselves, then that's not helping to uplift ourselves. If you don't feel content and if you don't love yourself, then you're going to feel like that about somebody else. But if you just focus on yourself and focus on filling yourself up with all the love that you can, then you'd be able to feel like that about everybody else, and it wouldn't affect you. I think if you're coming from a place of lack and limitations, then it's easy to feel like that about somebody else. But if you have a sense of loving yourself and being content with what you have, and realizing you're on your own journey and whatever's meant for you will happen, and radiating that positive energy, then that's what you're going to get back. Whatever you think about, you bring about. And that's, I think, the law of attraction. It's saying whatever you put out is what you're going to receive back. I think having that constant awareness of what we're thinking about and changing it to something more positive really makes such a big difference, and it's really impactful. Another saying that I read was, you are stronger than you think, smarter than you believe, and more powerful than you know. And that's really true. As I said earlier, we are infinite beings and we're spiritual beings, and we are part of a greater whole. And there's so much potential within us, but we think in terms of limitations and lack and scarcity. But the universe is abundant and there's more than enough for everybody, and we can have whatever we wish for. We just need to believe in it, and we need to believe ourselves worthy of receiving that as well. As I mentioned earlier, I have these oracle cards. I chose 2 oracle cards from a starseed oracle deck, and I'll read you the messages now. I think they were really apt in the message that I'm trying to convey. So the oracle deck that I used is called the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. And the first card that I chose is Child of the Cosmos. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. And that's what it looks like. And I'll read you the message from the guidebook. It's a more detailed message. So it says, Child of the Cosmos, the intelligence of the universe lies within you. There's a mysterious force that governs all life. an intelligence that tells flowers when to bloom and the tides and seasons when to come and go. That intelligence is within you too. It was there before you drew your first breath, and it will be there well beyond your last. It's the part of you that informed every cell what to do when you were in your mother's womb. It's harder to resist this force than it is to surrender to it. Because Earth is a planet of polarity and free will, it's easy to forget that this intelligence exists within us. So often we become disconnected from this pulse of life and fall into the pattern of believing that we're separate or feeling that we need to go it alone. We can feel isolated, as if we need to figure things out for ourselves, to rely on our own strength. You're being called to remember the intelligence that's within each and every one of your cells, to remember that you're a precious child of a loving, gentle universe, that you have access to all of the intelligence, wisdom, strength, flow, and qualities there ever were, are, or will be. And to remember that if flowers know exactly when and how to bloom, then you do too. So that's really such a wonderful message, and I just smiled when I read that card, because it's so true that we're just not aware of all that's within us. And if we were, then we would be able to accomplish so much more and realize so many more of our dreams. The next card is called Called, and it says soul gifts and training, it's time to step up. That's what it looks like. You came to Earth with a double mission: to grow as a soul and to bring about a shift in consciousness. The best way to fulfill these personal and collective purposes is to trust what it is that your soul is calling you toward, for it's encoded within the most direct path forward. Your soul has many unique gifts that it came here to share. Some you may already be aware of, others you're just beginning to uncover. You're being called to remember that your soul intelligently chose the perfect conditions to carry out your soul's mission and share your soul's gifts. If you're being called toward a creative project, a passion, or an adventure, this card is your confirmation that you're facing the right way and that this moment right here is destined. If you're feeling underprepared or thinking, who am I to do that? This card is guiding you to step up and leap, and consider perhaps that your soul has been training for this moment right here for lifetimes. So that was another interesting one. Realizing that we are here for a purpose and a mission. Even when I decided to start this YouTube channel, I even thought to myself, who am I to be talking about such things? But then I realized that these are just my experiences, and it's just something that I felt drawn to share with everybody. And thank you again for all your love and support, and I hope you found this video useful. Until the next time, I'm sending you lots of love and light.